Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of my best books of 2024. And the reason I'm calling it part 2 is if you see steam, it's because I have this hot cup of coffee. And I am still getting over the flu. And so my voice is not what it should be. So I apologize if I sound croaky. I have waited long enough to get on here and post some of these videos. So I'm just going with it. But I do apologize. But anyway, if you see like a steam coming in front of my face, it feels good actually, and it feels good on my throat. But anyway, I did something a little different. After I had looked over my top reads, my best books for 2024, I tried to look to see if there was some kind of, how they were connected. Was there some sort of relationship here with all the different titles? And it was like, what is it about these books? Because I had so many different kinds of books on that list. I mean, I had some classics, and then I had some more contemporary. I had some memoirs. There were different genres, different themes, all different kind of things. And so I was trying to figure out, what is it that I love most? And a lot of times I'll say, okay, my favorite is, I love Victorian literature. But Victorian literature, that's too broad. I don't love all Victorian literature. They don't all thrill me. And so, but I do love a lot of the writers of Victorian time. And then I love Gothic. And maybe that's a part of it too, because there's a lot of great Gothic literature that was written during the Victorian period. So Gothic. I love romantic suspense. I love mysteries. And I love Agatha Christie for the mysteries. So what I decided to do was ask AI. I went on and I asked AI, what is it about these books? Tell me what is it that I love about reading? And so this is what I did. I listed, and I didn't list all of them because in the other, hang on, let me put this coffee down so I don't spill it all over me. In the other video, I had 16 books, but I didn't list all the books. I think I listed to number 9. I think I listed my top 9 best books. And then I said, okay, what do these favorite books say about me as a reader? And that was the question I asked AI. And if you don't know what AI is, it's artificial intelligence. And it is super popular now, and there are pros and cons, and there are people arguing over this. And I think they've made channels just on this. But you can go online and you can ask artificial intelligence, and what it pretty much is doing is it's taking everything that's on the internet to give you an answer. So it's not a person, it's just the algorithms and how that works. And there's an AI that is in everything now. The medical field, and which is positive, that's a positive thing. But then also in music and art, which is kind of a shady place that some people are concerned about. So I'm not here to argue whether it's good or bad. I think it's both. But I think that's with anything, any kind of innovations, any kind of new technology, there's going to be great ways to use it, and there's going to be horrible ways to use it. And I promise you that those crooks out there will find a way to use it badly. But anyway, that's not what this is about. This is, I just was curious, so I asked. So I asked, what do these favorite books say about me as a reader? And again, I put in those top 9 from 2024. Now, I could have, and it probably would have been better to do this, like my favorite books of all time. But I did this just to kind of see where I am at this moment. And so this is what it said. This is how it responded. It said, your favorite books suggest you are a reader with an eclectic range of interests and a deep appreciation for literature that spans both genre and style. And I thought, yeah, I think so. Here's a breakdown of what your chosen books might reveal about you. And I thought, okay, so I'll go through that. So as I'm reading this, and if you are a person that has subscribed to my channel and you watch a lot of my videos, or if you just looked over my best books of 2024 from my previous video, and you know a little bit about me as a reader, you can recognize some of these. Because a lot of times I find that you recommend things that I would not even think of reading, and then I love them. I hope that makes sense. So think about that as as you've watched my channel, which you assume I enjoy reading, and if you think this does match up, okay? Okay, so it says for Uncle Silas, which was my favorite read of last year. You likely have a strong interest in Gothic fiction, mystery, and psychological depth. And I say check, 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 because those are buzzwords for me. A psychological thriller, a mystery, and if it's Gothic, yep, that's the book for me. It says it's a chilling atmospheric novel with a sense of creeping dread. It suggests you enjoy intricate, suspenseful stories that engage with themes of family secrets, morality, and the supernatural. Now, I'm not that big in supernatural, but I do find that a lot of the Gothic do have a supernatural element. And I'm okay with supernatural. I'm not saying that I have a problem with supernatural, but it depends on how it's conveyed, I guess. Because I don't like to celebrate dark supernatural things. But if it's in there and it shows it as dark and evil, I'm fine with that. So I just want to clarify that. But yeah, so far, Uncle Silas, that is why I loved it. And then my second book, which was totally different, was Onward and Upward in the Garden by Catherine White. It's a collection of her essays by Catherine White. And it was about seed packets and planting gardens. So it's nothing like that fiction of Uncle Silas. It says this is lighthearted and introspective. And I think that's the key word for me, introspective. Indicating you appreciate witty, reflective writing. And I think that's true. It says that this book embraces life's small and often overlooked moments. Excuse me for just a minute. I think that Uncle Silas would have been a favorite for me when I was a middle schooler, because Jane Eyre was. But I don't think Onward and Upward in the Garden would have been a favorite back then as it is now. And I think that's why, because of the often overlooked moments, the small, life's small, often overlooked moments. At my age, I'm appreciating those more. That's why I love my garden. That's why I love the birds. That's why I love sitting outside and watching those things. It's because now I'm in a place in my life that I do enjoy those witty little stories and the life's small overlooked moments. So I think that is just the season I'm in. The Uncle Silas, I've had that love since I was young. But Onward and Upward in the Garden, I think that's a new love for me. Okay, then The Merchant of Venice was one that I keep thinking about. William Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. It says your interest in The Merchant of Venice suggests you are drawn to classic literature, that's true, with complex themes such as justice, mercy, revenge, and prejudice. Now, again, this is just telling you about The Merchant of Venice, but it does make me think about, is that true? Do I agree with that? And yes, I do, because I do love thought-provoking stories where it does discuss justice and prejudices and revenge and those kind of things. I remember when I was younger, I loved all those books that were Southern literature, because, you know, there's lots of Southern literature that was written about racial tensions. I always enjoyed those because I found it to be thought-provoking about the way that we are prejudiced and, you know, why do we have this racial tension? So yes, prejudices and revenge, mercy, justice, I can see that about me. And also it says ambiguities and social commentary. That's something I love too. It doesn't necessarily have to be black or white in the story. I do like it when there's some, you know, gray area, because that helps me figure it out for myself. What are my values and how do I respond to this reading? And I'm always wanting to, you know, self-reflect more. And I think that those kind of stories do make me want to do that. So I can see that. So far I agree with what AI is telling me. The next one was Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. That was a favorite. And it says, this one suggests you have a deep appreciation for nostalgia and the richness of childhood memory. I will say, I have always loved nostalgic memory kinds of things. Even when I was a child. Even back then, I liked old-fashioned things. things that were nostalgic, even though they weren't nostalgic to me, if that makes sense. Because, you know, I didn't experience living on the prairie like in reading Little House on the Prairie, but I loved the experience of living through that book as I read it. And it did feel nostalgic, even though I had never experienced it. Does that make sense? So I have always been a person that loves nostalgia. That's why my whole library is full of vintage books. And the reason that I love vintage classics and things like that, those vintage books, those old books, there's something to that because there is a nostalgia to it. So yes, I agree with that too. But that has become more and more important to me, again, in the season that I'm in. So feel free to make comments about these things, maybe about, you know, do you agree as a reader yourself? Are these things you're drawn to? You know, let me know in the comments if any of these, you know, pique your curiosity about your own reading. The next one was The Pale Horse by Agatha Christie. That was a favorite. And it said, it says a lot, but it says at the end, you like puzzle-like narratives that keep you engaged. That's true. And make you think critically. Again, here's the same kind of wording. Human nature, motives, and the darker side of society. That is true. Those kind of stories. If I read Agatha Christie, all of hers have those kinds of things in them, motives and darker side of society. But I find the darker books that she writes are my favorites. So when she really goes over the edge with them, I mean, they're not graphic or too violent or anything, and I don't like that. But I do like when she, you know, approaches that she discusses that, some kind of way conveys that message in her books. I find those to be most memorable. So I agree with that. Nicholas Nickleby was a favorite, and it says you likely appreciate social commentary. That's been, I think that's repeated several times in what I've said. An exploration, here it is again, exploration of moral and ethical dilemmas. Yes, yes, yes. So far I'm really, and then there's a couple of others. But anyway, I thought that this was interesting. And so after I did that, it gave me, after I read those, it had at the end some overall themes. And these really intrigued me. It said your overall themes are diversity in genres, because you have a broad literary taste. And I do like trying different genres, although I do stick to the same. But maybe that means I need to try some different genres. But you need them to be deeply thoughtful. You love suspense and mystery. You appreciate a story that keeps you on the edge, makes you think critically, and engages you with deeper moral questions. For me, that is a key. I think because of my faith, I think that that is always at the forefront of my reading choices, because I'm always thinking about that. I mean, I wake up every morning and I read my Bible and I pray. And so that's always at the forefront of my life. How am I living out what God wants for me? How am I glorifying God in the things that I do? Why do I do the things I do? And so as I read, that's always in the back of my mind, I guess, is morality, because I'm always thinking about those things. Nostalgia and reflection is the other theme. Memory, identity, and the passage of time. And then it said appreciation for complex characters. And I do agree with that. It says you seem to be drawn to richly developed characters. Give me a great character and I say it's a great book. I'll say that. And enjoy exploring how individuals grapple with social structures, moral dilemmas, and personal conflicts. In essence, this is at the very end, the last sentence. In essence, you are a thoughtful and engaged reader who enjoys both intellectual stimulation and emotional depth. You value stories that combine rich characters, layered plots, and complex themes. But that sentence to me, don't we all enjoy that? Don't we all want rich characters, layered plots, and complex themes? Maybe not. Maybe you don't. Let me know in the comments, because I do think that for me it is about great characterization. I do love Gothic. I do love let me go back to what a couple of them said. The moral dilemmas, that is huge for me. moral and ethical dilemmas, social commentary. Those are the kind of books I love. So, in the comments, what's the next book I should read? Let me know in the comments. I will tell you that after I did this, and I can't find the paper because it did give me a list of books, but guess what? Most of them I had read, because like Rebecca was on that list. I think there was a couple of Charles Dickens on that list. A lot of the books I had already read. But there was one that came up, and then I asked a different question. That book came up again. And then I was talking to Faith from when we were doing our buddy read, and Faith actually mentioned this author too. So I said, okay, it's meant for me to read this book. And that is Middlemarch by George Eliot. Everything, every time I asked something, AI would come back with Middlemarch. Now, there were a lot of other books in there. There were some books that were written recently, and when I say recently, in the past couple of decades. For me, that's recent. And I'm thinking about those, but I don't read a lot of those kind of books. So Middlemarch was one. I have it on my shelf. I have 2 copies of Middlemarch. I think it's a Penguin Classic paperback, and then a beautiful hardcover of Middlemarch by George Eliot. I have wanted to try George Eliot for a very long time, but I've never tried her. And so I decided, okay, if that's the one you keep recommending, then that's the one I'm going to try. So this year I'm going to read Middlemarch by George Eliot, because that one came up. I asked the question 3 different ways with different books, and every time Middlemarch was the first book on the response. So Middlemarch by George Eliot was the response from AI on what I should read next. Based on what I've said, what do you think I should read next? And I can't wait to know. Really think about it before you just put something out. I don't want it to be, oh, this is my favorite book, so Mitzi will love it too. I want you to think about what I've talked about in this video, and let me know what you think based on all of that. What do you think my next read should be? And I would love to know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.